Well, the elite wheelchair race was the first race to get underway, and it featured David Weir, the six-time Paralympic gold medalist, and of course Simon Lawson, both very, very firm favourites in any international race. And Simon Lawson here taking the lead, and David Weir looking down. And at the end of all that, it was a puncture that had finished his race very, very early on. Such a shame. The tyres, he said earlier, are flimsy, the race tyres, but Simon Lawson headed away, and so did Jade Johnson, the Great North Run second placer, represented Great Britain in the London Paralympics, of course. She got a 62.09 half marathon to her credit, and she was well leading, as this man was, with the demise of David Weir. But 20,000 starters, but the elite getting underway, and all of a sudden we were down to the principals here: Bekele, Thompson, Birmingham, Abdirahman. But this man, Simon Lawson, went through with a new course record to break the record set by Phil Hogg last year. Meanwhile, Gemma was beginning to dominate a race against a young Kenyan who came in, that's Purity Kimetto, who came in late on in the process. But that race was beginning to emerge, and Abdirahman at this stage leading with Collis, Birmingham. But in the final stages, a young woman, Jade Johnson, coming through to take victory in the women's wheelchair race, and she too performing well. But all of a sudden at mile 7, around about mile 7, 4 minutes and 29, mile was inserted by Thomas Ayeko, and meanwhile Gemma was putting in a very, very fine and consistent performance. Towards the end, it was about the Ugandan on his debut half marathon, pushing away, running the hills well, and there was always a battle for second place between Thompson and of course Abdirahman, the Somali American-based athlete. But the rest of the club athletes raising their money continued throughout the course of this 13.1 mile race, and it went on for some considerable time, I can tell you, with 20,000 to get over the start line. The firemen were there, and there were all sorts of charities and good causes being worked for during the course of this day. And it wasn't always about just simply running. There were all sorts of costumes. It wasn't just that. There were some heavier ones than that on the course, and that is quite a challenge, despite the fact that there were some hills in this race. But they didn't deter this man, Thomas Ayeko of Uganda, coming through in a time of what, 60, just over 62.5 minutes, 62.33, and Thompson, of course, coming through, Thompson into second place, beating off Abdirahman, and that was a very much better performance by him, because he'd had a disappointing run in the Great Scottish Run recently, but on this occasion he beat this man who's represented America in 3 Olympic Games. There's the result: Ayeko, 62.32 in fact, just rounded down. Thompson and Abdirahman the top 3, with Collis, Birmingham in 4th place and Bekele in 5th. But there was no problem for Gemma. It was most of the race was against the clock, and in the end she ended up with a best of 70 minutes and 20 seconds, which was a new personal best, beating the best she set in the Great North Run last year. She's definitely en route to a marathon, there's no question about that. And there's the result. Gemma 70.19 rounded down again. Kimetto, the young Kenyan, in second. Kodowska of the Ukraine in 3rd place. And there are the rest down to the 7th position.